Welcome to the Donna Sebo Show Special Editions. This program is dedicated to featuring authors and experts from around the world who will share their knowledge and insight with you, the viewing and listening audience. Literacy and education are the keys to freedom, and diversity enables one to live in a world with broader perspectives. This is Donna Sebo, and I will be your host for the next hour. Welcome to the Donna Sebo Show Special Editions. This program is a unique program, and I have to tell you why I decided to put it together. Just a few weeks ago, I found out about an organization called NABVETS. Now, this is an organization that serves veterans from all parts of the military. But I had no idea that this organization even existed, much less finding out about Gold Star spouses. And we have two guests today. We have Phillip Gonzales, who is with the NABVETS organization, and we have Arlene Murray, who is a Gold Star spouse herself. I think what we're going to be able to share with you in this program is the awareness of how people really, really care about our veterans, about what they have experienced. We are about, in this program, hoping that we're going to be able to share with you education, if you will, about what you can share with those that you know that are perhaps involved in the military service in one way or another. If they are retired military, they will have some information here that is going to make a difference. This is a national organization, NABVETS. We're going to find out about its history, how it started, and what they're doing today. We're also going to find out about the Gold Star spouses, mothers, and families, and how also there is what we call the Blue Star. So if you're like me, and you did not have very much awareness or knowledge about any of this, I think you're going to find it quite an interesting conversation. Phillip Gonzales, I want to welcome you to the show. I'm just so pleased that we have this opportunity to meet. And Arlene, I am so pleased to meet you as well, because you have been educating me about the Gold Star system, which was developed a long time ago. Now, I want to start with you, Phillip, because I've known you for a number of years, and you became affiliated with NABVETS. You are a veteran yourself. How did you get involved with NABVETS? Can you give us a little bit of their history and tell me how it is that you became associated with it?
Well, NABVETS started a number of years ago, and the reason why it is a national organization is because African American claims were getting denied more often than approved. And this is the reason why the organization started, to take a good look at that and see how we can better do claims in terms of African Americans, minorities, and all veterans. So I started with them about 2 years ago, learning about the system. I had a friend who I knew before who was a veteran service officer, and he brought me in and he says, let's look at your claim. So he looked at my claim, and basically he put in claims for me, which allowed my percentage to go up, which I had no idea what these organizations did. So I learned through him, and then he ended up passing away in 2024, and I ended up taking over the office, which now I'm the vice commander for Washington State for National Association of Black Veterans. And what I would say is, we just don't serve Black veterans, we serve all veterans. But we have an understanding that a lot of times minority veterans do not get approved as often as other folks, veterans. And what I wanted to do is make sure that we are doing things right and we are putting in the claims correctly and fully putting in the claims, okay, which would then help the organization's percentage go up as far as claims that were received and claims that were processed and approved. And since I've been in the office, we have increased that percentage because we take veteran claims very seriously. Number one, veterans are number one to us. It's number one to me. I was a veteran for over 20 years, so I know what it is to be a veteran. But when I talk to veterans, I can feel when they're talking to me the hurt that they have because they don't understand why they keep getting disapproved when they went through other organizations. I understand, okay? But the one thing that we do, we listen to the veteran's story. Number one, we have to hear their story, how they felt that they were hurt in the military, how they felt that they were bothered in the military, but a lot of times in the military, depending upon what era he was in, soldiers did not go to sick call because it looked upon them as if they were weak. Okay, so they didn't go to sick call. They could get a sprained ankle running or doing something, but they wouldn't go to sick call because they know that people would look down on them. And that's how, you know, because number one for the military, mission is number one. And if you go to combat or somewhere like that, when you're on a mission and your buddy gets hurt, you put a bandage on them and you keep going. Okay?
Yeah.
So a lot of times soldiers did not go to sick call, so some of their challenges were not documented. That's why we listen to the story so we can document it. We have to document it so that the raiders in VA understand what happened to them. And then we also document what's happening now. How does it affect him now? Okay, because VA has certain roadmaps, what they call roadmaps, and where, for instance, if you were in an area or you were in a field where you were in a tanker or you fired mortars or you were in an area that fired some kind of bombs, and say you have ringing in your ears, okay, say you get tendonitis, okay? Now what happens is, normally if a person gets tendonitis, the way the roadmap for VA is, tendonitis can lead to sleep apnea because that ringing in the ears could keep you awake at night, okay? And it could lead to sleep apnea where you're not getting good sleep. Well, you know, if your body doesn't get good sleep, it doesn't operate the next day good. You're tired, you feel weak, you're not thinking as sharply as you normally would, okay? And then sleep apnea, when you have sleep apnea because you're not getting the proper rest and your mind isn't getting rested, you could get headaches. Okay, this could lead to headaches, to migraine headaches. And it could be you can get a migraine headache from a light source, from a sound source, and it could cause you to maybe have to lay down to get out of that environment so you can clear your mind. And sometimes headaches last 1.5 to 3 hours, and they're severe. Okay, now what the VA will do is they'll give you a medication, and they say take this medication, and sometimes medication works depending on the body chemistry, and sometimes it doesn't.
True.
Okay, And so this is what I'm talking about, a roadmap that the VA looks at as what it could link to. Also, when you have sleep apnea, you could actually have body aches because it could link to body aches because your body isn't getting enough rest. All this is a combined effect. In other words, you could have back pain, you could have shoulder pain, because what happens is your body isn't getting enough rest. The blood is not flowing as good as it normally does. And so you could possibly get other ailments from this. And this is why we do what we do, because we know what we know. And a veteran, a lot of times, has not a clue. They go to a doctor's office. The doctor asks them how they feel. They said, "Oh, I'm okay." But really, they're not, okay? That's just a natural way of kind of greeting people. "Oh, I'm okay, how you doing?" You know? So we really have to listen to the veteran's story, and we have to make them aware of some of the things that possibly link with his ailments or disabilities that occurred in the military. Sometimes you get something little that happened to you in the military, and years later, I'm talking 20 years or 30 years later, all of a sudden, you have cancer, like the Vietnam veterans.
Very true.
They went on the planes that had Agent Orange. They got cancer, and they're 80-something years old with cancer, and they're trying to put in a claim, and it's getting disapproved because things are not linking correctly with VA. And that's what we do. We have to link things correctly. We have to tell them the real story of what's happening with that veteran now. And
That's very, very significant. And I know because I have a number of family members, both on my side, but also with my husband. He was in the Air Force, and there were members of his family that had served in the Army, the Navy, the Marines. I think the only branch of service was the National Guard that wasn't in his family. So we have all of this, and this is something, too, that is important because I noticed in your materials that the National Guard was included. You know, they can come to you. And that is something, again, people don't know about. They don't know about it at all. Now, something, too, that I've been educated on, and this has to do with you, Arlene, because you are a Gold Star spouse.
Correct.
And this is something in my neighborhood. Every once in a while, I'll see a flag. And we've got the flags on display here, but we'll see a flag with a gold star or a blue star, and sometimes there's multiple stars that are on those flags. And what I'd like to ask you to do, because I know you're dealing with this on a regular basis, you are in with the NABVETS office. You're right there. People can contact both of you, and we're going to make sure that people have access to that information. But how did you become involved with NABVETS? You were a Gold Star wife before you became involved with them. Give us a little bit of your background. We have a photo of your husband over there on the adjacent table, and he served time in the military. What branch was he with? And then again, share your story about that.
Well, I have to go back in time. I first became a Gold Star wife in 1989. My other spouse was on active duty.
Ah, okay.
And he passed away from service connection. And I remember the casualty office coming to the house, opening up not a brochure, but an award, and there was a Gold Star pin. And after he explained my benefits, he said, "You are now a Gold Star." And of course, I was 31 with my 2 children, and I thought, what does that mean? You know, what is the semblance of a Gold Star? And I didn't know that there was an organization for Gold Stars for support. And so I just meandered my life. I was in San Antonio at the time, and Washington is my home. So I came back to Washington State. And at the time of my husband's death, then I was told if I ever remarried, I would lose my benefits. I would lose my VA benefits.
What kind of benefits did you have
Well,
as the
I
wife
got
of the veteran?
at that time, which it still is today, it's called DIC, Dependency Indemnity Compensation. And I believe it was $698 in 1989. And every time a veteran gets a raise, then the Gold Star, they get a raise as well. So now that's $1,620. So it has gone up significantly. And so making a consolidated, condensed story, I came back to Washington and I thought, okay, what do I do now? You know, that was, what do I do now? I had no purpose. I didn't have very much of an education, so I went to school and started junior college and built myself up, tried to find a job, but I had no experience because I was a wife. And I did an internship, and then I did another internship, and I went to work with a service organization that did claims, and I thought, I really love this. This is a good way to honor vets. And then as time went on, I continued to do that, and I looked for my high school sweetheart. And I found him. He was right under my thumb in Puyallup. And he served in the Army, and he served in the Marines, and that was his love, was the Marines. And unfortunately, we could not get married until I was 57, because from 1989, the rule changed for Gold Star families. It said if you remarried, you had to wait until you were 57. And that has since changed to age 55 because they were trying to comply the age requirement with the Department of Defense, and their benefits were 55. Now at the present time, the Gold Stars, many of them, fathers, mothers, children, you know, we're all fighting for the Remarriage Act in Washington, D.C.
No kidding. Gee whiz.
I think it's extremely unfair. It's an insult to a survivor whose no fault of their own has to not get married. And many of them came back, you know, their husband or their spouses were killed in Iraq or Afghanistan, something of the newer war, and they have small children. And those children may want to remarry. But in my case, I waited until I was 57. And my high school sweetheart said, I'm not going anywhere. We'll wait until you're 57. And I thought, yeah, right, you're going to wait around. And he did. And we got married in 2015. And by 2016, and we'd been together 22 years or more, he was quite weak, as Phil was alluding to, that, you know, the conditions just kind of came on, one right after the other. And it turned out that he ended up with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh my.
And this stemming from that was the water at Camp Lejeune. And so he died from the water at Camp Lejeune. He was in Korea, Vietnam era, on troop ships. I mean, he was all over the world. And to die from that, he died in 2018, a very painful death. And throughout that period, I have gone back to school. I never thought in my wildest dreams I would have a master's degree. But I got my undergrad in law, and that way I could filter claims better on HIPAA and privacy and all of the things that the VA would look for. And then I said, you know, I still want to do this. I just have this passion. And it's not about me. It's about their service and honoring their service. But most importantly, I saw that there was, the veterans were being taken care of, and they are being taken care of well. In different ways. You have, it's a bureaucracy, so you have to make sure the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. You listen to their story, you personalize that veteran, so you get to know that veteran well. And the catalyst to that for me is that when I do a claim for a veteran, I ask, hey, do you have a wife? They could bring their wife into my office at NABVETS. And that way I know the wife or the family. And if something happens to them, I want them to be reassured that we're going to look out for the surviving spouse. Because to navigate this system as a survivor is a nightmare.
It's very hard.
It's a nightmare for a veteran. It's even harder when you've lost your finances, your spouse. Everything about that whole security system that you had is gone. And if a veteran is 100% disabled and they're senior, so they could get Social Security, they could get VA, disability. Some of veterans are getting $6,000 and $7,000, but when they die, that all goes away.
Wow, that's really a shock.
And then
the
they have to go
family.
through, it's an incredible shock. So if you're not financially prepared as a Gold Star spouse, you have to navigate the system, you have to go back to the VA, fill out the forms, and there are a multitude of forms, a multitude. But it's just not about the paperwork. It's about that underlying care that you have to reach out. You need to call that widow or widower and say, how can we help you? And that's that NABVETS has given me the opportunity to filter out those spiritual gifts that I have to help the survivors. I mean, just yesterday we had a veteran came in with 2 of his children, and it was great. They were there, and we gave them snacks and got to, give them things to do. It's that personalized touch that we want to do, and it takes time. So if it's a pencil pusher and putting paperwork in, we're not. That's not us. We set the tone. And as a Gold Star spouse, when my husband died, the first year was very difficult. Like I said, my purpose was, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I think for me, getting in school has really made a difference.
Yes, I could imagine it would.
It gave me focus to get out of bed, to be directional on what I wanted to do. And then when I finished my master's degree in 2022, it was like, now what do I do? So I have had this great opportunity with NABVETS. I'm looking forward to our growth, opening the doors for the survivors, more of the survivors. In fact, right now I have one that I did her husband's claim, and she fell, she broke her hip, and then she fell again, and she's in the hospital under hospice right now. So I'm consoling the daughter. And this is the extra mile that we have to go to support one another. And adding to what Phil said, the mission comes first. Well, my mission is to support Gold Star, whether you're a child, a father, a spouse, a mother. There are many service organizations out there that are now supporting each other. Most of them are 501c3s. And in Washington State, there are 3 that are for families and mothers and fathers. And then as it's a 501c3, there are national organizations in Washington State as well as in DC, where we just lead the charge.
I think that is so important. Phil, I have a member of my family. He was in the Air Force. And you talked earlier about injuries, and he had a broken neck. Now, this is a man that is in his 70s. It had been broken for years in 2 places. And he just now, recently, has had to go in, for surgeries. And I find different stories from different people. There is another member of the family, his name was Joe. And Joe, and I think I mentioned this to you when we first started chatting about NABVETS, that he was doing not unlike what you're doing, but Joe was a Korean veteran. And he was assisting widows. He said this is what he wanted to do, and he would go through all the paperwork with them. Then he experienced, and I'm pretty sure he's gone now, because he was in his 90s the last time I spoke with him, but they lost his paperwork.
Wow.
Now, this is a man that had served in the Korean War, had been, dealing with the VA for the entire time because he came back with PTSD. Well, they called it shell shock, I think, at that time. that, you know, all of these different things, and members of the family used to say, oh my goodness, Joe's a hypochondriac. He's always got something going on. But he was fighting in the mountains of Italy and against the Germans. They didn't have food. They were exposed to all kinds of things. And what you said earlier about exposure, I want to touch on that because I remember, I think it's a good 15 years ago, it's probably even longer than that, there was a big expose on Agent Orange. And we were chatting about at one, just actually before we started the show, how the burning of trash, the chemicals that our men and women are exposed to today, those have residual effects that go on. I mean, dependent on your physiological chemistry. And what happens with that chemistry, with a woman, it might actually, because we don't have, you know, the physiological chemistry between the male and the females, very different. But women often have a higher absorption rate when it comes to chemistry, chemicals. And the guys that are exposed to this, I mean, one of my relatives told me, they said, you know, this flame retardant that you use on the grounds, that's highly toxic.
Absolutely.
And what do? We have used it for years, and now we're becoming aware of it. Firefighting, we have wildfires here in Washington, all across the nation, everywhere. That retardant is being used, and that can go into water tables. And so you're drinking these chemicals as well, depending on where you are. You've got all of these things that are going on. And look at how long it's taken for it to even be acknowledged. It's almost as if, gee, you made this up. And I've talked with so many people through the years that have gone through this. So NABVETS is something that when I became aware of it because of the conversation with you, and then Arlene, I've had the chance to learn about the Gold Star situation. I am just so pleased because I don't think people know.
Well, I think that what happens is when you have a military person leave the service, they are a little bit more informative these days as far as telling a soldier to put in a claim or to look at your medical history. But in the years prior, they didn't do that. They gave very little briefings on that. And you got to realize, depending upon the job of the soldier, the person didn't go to sick call half the time. And the thing is, he didn't know medical terms. So when you talk about sleep apnea, I can tell you in the 70s, people didn't know what sleep apnea was. But the deal was with VA, you had 1 year to put in for sleep apnea. And your window was closed if you didn't put in it for 1 year. But you didn't know what it is, you just knew you couldn't sleep good, okay? So, and since you don't go to sick call, nobody told you that, okay? So you're expecting these soldiers to be fully knowledgeable about medical terms and this and that, when that's not what they do.
Very true.
So when the PACT Act came out about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, that came through Biden administration. What the PACT Act did is allowed those places that burn trash and toxics in Iraq and different places in the Middle East and some places in the United States to put in for claims for the chemicals that they were experiencing that caused some disability with them, okay? And also, it also helped with sleep apnea because that PACT Act allowed people who had sleep apnea, what happens is they go to the doctor says you have sleep apnea, they do a test, they give him a sleep apnea machine, but a veteran wasn't able to claim it, even though he had sleep apnea. Now they're able to claim it because that's what the PACT Act was about, allowing certain things to be claimed that were closed. Okay, that the VA made a decision, well, if you didn't file this within a year, then it's closed. But now with the PACT Act, things opened up to allow them to look at certain things and to file claims for certain things, which made a huge difference. I think when the PACT Act opened up, I think the VA probably received 800 to 1 million claims more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That, oh, my goodness.
It was that big. Okay.
Wow.
And so, I mean, right now people are understanding, or there's more information about what's going on now, you know, through social media and things like that. So people are understanding, well, I can do this. Even the younger soldiers that are just getting out there, they're understanding, hey, I need to start my claim before I get out if they have some disabilities or issues. That way, when I leave the service, I can get my VA pay the day after. And that's what soldiers are doing. You know,
Oh, really?
yeah. A lot of soldiers are getting paid who do their claims before they get out. When they get out, the day after they get out, they're getting that VA paycheck for their disability.
Now, when that veteran, and maybe I should go to you, Arlene, on this, that veteran, and I'm sure you have many, many senior veterans that you're dealing with that have just not known the agenda to work with, or you know they're having a battle, and we'll address that because I know you had someone in particular, and I'd like for you to speak to that. But with the Gold Star, when a soldier is overseas, when we're engaged in war like Afghanistan,
Correct.
and you know Iraq, any of this, you don't know whether you're going to come home in a body bag or what. You just don't know. You
Right.
are there. You're there to serve, and when that occurs, and nobody ever wants their loved ones to not come home, what do the family members do? I mean, lots of times they don't know for quite a long time that maybe their spouse is gone.
Right. Well, if they die on active duty, if there are any such words I could use, perks. You have a casualty officer. You have the chaplain. You have people that are on active duty that will help navigate that and contact the family. Then the casualty officer. Most of the bases now have something called Survivors Outreach Office. And we do
okay.
have one local. It's at Waller Hall. It's very good. If you are retired, they prefer you go to the casualty office. If you're a new widow, the beauty of going to Waller Hall is they have the retirement there. They have, they can contact the casualty and they can get into the records right away. One thing that I wanted to allude to on what Phil was saying is that there are a lot of benefits that veterans are not aware of, especially because of the PACT Act. We now have the caregivers plan through the VA where
That's wonderful.
veterans can get care for them. It's called, one benefit is aid and attendance, where they fill out the form, they take it to their doctor, the doctor fills it out. You have to have the criteria. It is not based on your finances. It's based on your medical needs. There's also one for the Gold Stars. If the Gold Star, for example, I'll use the wife. If the wife, the surviving spouse needs care, maybe their health has changed, they do the same form. They have a representative take it, they take it to the doctor. They take that form, and if it's through us, we take it, we get it to the VA. It gets approved by the adjudicator at VA. There's Washington State for Gold Star survivors also has Gold Star license plates. And that means you get tabs on your car, on your one car, for free for the rest of the life of whatever you have, a car. There are support systems, like I alluded to earlier, that help each other. But I think the key is being able to reach out, and not everybody that's a survivor wants to do that. You know, there are some people that are more reclusive, or they just simply don't have the knowledge on how to do that. And the senior veterans, I do deal a lot with senior vets. I want to know if they have a spouse so that I can help them, their surviving spouse, when they do pass. In fact, we did 6 surviving claims this last month.
Wow.
So, and one was for a daughter. She was an only child, and she was, I don't know, she was in her 60s, but it was still hard for her. And we helped her navigate benefits. We had representatives at Tahoma National Cemetery. We were there to hold her hand and be there for her, and she's still on my database to be able to do support with.
That is fabulous. Phillip, you had mentioned to me a gentleman that had come to you that for 10 years had tried to get
It was
medical.
It's actually longer than 10 years.
Longer than 10 years.
Longer than 10 years. He started in 2000, I believe in 2010, and he filed a claim. He went through appeals, and this is a person who was in Vietnam War, infantry, and he had cancer. Okay, he's 86 years old. He had cancer. And when I looked at that, I said, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. He'd been trying for 14, 15 years, and he was at 10%. I could not believe it. So we took his case on, and the one thing that we do is we medically link things. So that what happens is, when your claim goes up to VA, the rater has 20 minutes to look at your claim.
That's all? Just
That's
20
it.
minutes?
So say you got all this stuff going on, you got cancer, you got this and this and this. They don't have time to look at all your records. They don't have time. And so this is why we link it. This is why we tell the story to that rater, so the rater knows there's specific things and they can look at specific things if they need to. Okay? Because this gentleman went on for 15 years and was at 10%, and that's unbelievable. When he had, I believe he had prostate cancer, and I mean, it's just an unbelievable story to me. You know, I understand that sometimes claims take a while to go through because you have to go through, what they do is they go through a company called QTC and another company, and what they do is they give you exams. These are independent doctors that basically work for VA. Okay, and they give you exams, and your doctor says this, and then they evaluate you and determine, okay, is this what's really happening? And they'll write, you know, their information, and then a lot of times that has a lot of weight with VA, and your claim can be denied. Now, apparently this gentleman, his percentages went up quite dramatically, and since we started helping him, because we seen the gap, okay, and that's what we look for, that gap.
Tell me about the percentages. I mean, that is something that I was totally unaware of, being with both of you and being in the opportunity of positioning to be able to ask questions and to find out about things. I'm not military myself, but again, my husband was, and you know, members of family. But I never, ever heard any discussions about this, you know, ever.
Well, percentages is based on different parts of the body. That's how VA looks at it.
Okay.
In other words, you could have your lower extremity, you could have your right shoulder. In all different parts of the body will get certain percentages. So say if your shoulder's out, that doesn't mean you get 100%, and you can't work with your shoulder. Okay, that could mean that that's only entitled to 30%. Okay, so each part of the body has certain percentages, but it's the total percentage rating that makes up the total percentage of, say you have an ankle disability, say you have a shoulder disability, say you have PTSD. That combined together create your total percentage, okay? And remember, what I talked about was I talked about the roadmap. So you might have got this in the military, but with time, you had more challenges because it linked to other things. So it could be that you had a shoulder and you couldn't work that shoulder, then you start getting anxiety and you start getting depression, okay? Which is another way of looking at a different percentage. So this is what we have to look at when we look at a person. We have to look at the whole person.
Well, that's just like my relative that had his neck broken in 2 places, and he went for years. I mean, the guy did everything. And here he is in his 70s, and he's losing the feeling in his right hand. It's affecting, he can't grip things, and he's told, you're going to have surgery, otherwise if you don't have surgery on your neck, you're going to be paralyzed, period. So when you have these things occur, like you say, it's later on in life.
And it could transform to a neurological damage.
Yes.
You know, and that's why his feeling in his hand and things like that, he has more neuropathy going on. So these are the things that we really have to look at when we look at a veteran. You know, I did want to mention, you know, NABVETS Washington has a website. And it has a website that you can go to and you can click on things and it will take you to certain areas and give you certain information, how to contact us and what have you. And also NABVETS National has a website as well. And it gives you information, you know, how they started, what they do, and what we do. And we support the national organization who reports to Congress and we do many different things like that to support veterans. And we're also associated with many of the different places in Washington, like Pierce County, different places that these places have benefits for veterans. Say you have a homeless veteran. Well, we know that Pierce County has a homeless veteran that they help homeless veteran, or they could possibly help with electricity. Say the person didn't have enough money for electricity, we could send them down there and they could help with electricity for maybe a month. You know, and these are things that, what do you call, benefits that help veterans. And there's a number of benefits. When you talk about, for instance, she talked about license plates for Gold Star wise. Well, the other thing is, when you're 100%, when you receive 100% from VA, you also get a license plate for one of your vehicles, and that's forever. And basically that says that you're a disabled veteran, okay? And then you don't have to pay for the license plate or the fees, okay? The other thing is Washington State has a number of different things that that benefits for veterans, like you can get, for instance, for their what do you call them, park areas and things like that, where you go and you take a trailer to and you stay overnight.
Yes.
You can get them free. You know, there's a lot of benefits within Washington State that you can get for veterans. So that's one thing to look at. When you're looking at benefits, you need to look at all benefits, because you don't realize the benefits that you get. And a lot of veterans that come through the door, they don't know that, because they only look at some things. They don't look at everything. And we have to kind of inform them that there's a lot of things out here for you.
I would agree. And that is why I felt that it was so important that we have this program. Because a lot of people, they're just out there, they're families, they're working. Like you said, Philip, well, we don't want to show that we're weak. We don't want to show that, you know, we've got this, that, or the other going on, or my family is in situations. And women, we talk about the guys having an attitude. There's a lot of women that will say, no, I won't do this. I don't want people to know that I am having a hard time. And I think what's important is for the understanding that NABVETS, this is not charity. This is something where, with the Gold Star, you know,
Support.
wives, husbands that survived because we have women in the military, which for so long they weren't permitted to do, and their lives are on the line just like the men's are. So you have this, and you have the children that may be able, to have one of their parents alive, but so there's a lot of military families where both mom and dad are both serving.
Correct.
So you have all of these things, and what I really was impressed with NABVETS is that it is almost like, I'll call it an umbrella, because you have the gold star. Now if someone had the blue star, because that is showing that someone has been in service, but do you have anything at all to do with the blue star?
Well, if there are events that the Blue Star does, and we certainly support those organizations. One thing that I was going to allude to is that under the benefits, a struggling Gold Star spouse may also, if they have a home, be entitled to county reduced taxes on their home.
Oh,
And
that's interesting.
that is incredibly amount of money. I mean, I had a widow that was paying $2,500 in her taxes, and this was in Thurston County and Pierce County, and maybe even King County, but most of the counties do have it. And it went from $2,500 to $800 a year. So it was a significant savings for her and helped her. We as Gold Stars, I'll say not as Gold Stars because it's prior to being a Gold Star. If you're married to someone in the military, the premise is adapt, adjust, and overcome. And when you see a Gold Star or you see a Blue Star, the origin of the star originated with Eleanor Roosevelt when we had World War II. And it would signify, you mentioned earlier about, well, if you've seen flags with more than one, that means that they either have lost two members of their family with the Gold Star. The Blue Star, they're serving. And I think that it is key to just recognize a star. We're not students in school anymore where we get a Gold Star. It was not something we wanted to happen.
Yeah.
But the adapting, adjusting, and overcoming was me going back to school and starting a new life.
Now, with the Gold Star situation, are there scholarships for the children?
Oh, absolutely. Each individual organization has certain things within their 501c3 that they like, but I believe it's called the Fry Scholarship for those that were in a certain period and their parents served and died. They may be, I'm not saying across the board, may be eligible for that. And the National Guard has a scholarship as well for survivors. And the title, if the deceased had not used the VA benefits, then the survivor could possibly use those. But again, that's an individual call.
Right, and it's each case
But
by
the
case.
scholarships
Yeah.
are out there. For myself, I was fortunate enough to look into going back to school, and the school that I picked was in Iowa. It was an online school. Ultimately, I wanted to go to UW, but I couldn't afford it. And I looked through their website, and the school that I picked had a scholarship for military/Gold Star.
Now, that's something that many people wouldn't even think of, that
Right.
colleges would have something for veterans, and you were able to find that.
I got a $25,000 school
Wow.
full ride scholarship that paid for my master's. So I was very happy to finish my degree in healthcare management, which is why I'm a medical consultant for NABVETS. So I can navigate those medical records and I can know how to write a good
That, I
write-up.
think, see, with all that we've discussed, we have covered so many different areas that people in the military or people that have family members, or maybe they have a friend. I have a neighbor that I shared your information about. They said, this is great because it was a minority individual, and lots of times, dependent on that minority, they may not even want to say that they have anything.
Yes.
It's like, no, I'm already having challenges with discrimination, in many respects, or they feel that they have that. And so consequently, they're not even going to be looking at having any kind of interaction. And don't you have someone that works in Puerto Rico, Phillip?
Yes, we have a VSO that's in Puerto Rico. He'll be leaving next week back to Puerto Rico. He's here right now working with us, and he'll be leaving back in about a week. And you have a lot of veterans who are elderly over there that there's problems with, but they have a problem in trusting the government, so to speak.
Big challenge today.
Right.
Big
So
challenge.
he goes back and forth to Puerto Rico, helping with claims over there that he sends to us. We look at them and then we process them for a lot of the elderly population over there. You know, we find a lot of veterans that really just get discouraged. They had filed claims for years, and all of a sudden they just get discouraged and they say, oh, heck with that. I'm tired of dealing with this, because they don't know how to navigate through the system.
Yes.
And that's what we do. We navigate through the system. We can look at his paperwork and we can say, oh, okay, now we need, so we have to kind of educate a person. For instance, when they go to the doctor, what do you tell the doctor? You take a 3x5 card, and this is what I tell them, you write down everything that is bothering you, everything. And you put it on that doctor's desk, and you don't play with the doctor. You say, this is what's bothering me. This is what I need to be fixed. This is what needs to be fixed. That way they have everything in their file. When they have it in their file, we can file for that claim.
I'd like for you to give out the website. Now, is there a separate website for the Gold Star? But everything here is under NABVETS.
I'm
You're with
representing NABVETS.
Okay,
yes.
so they could talk to you, they just would call.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what's the website? Does Washington State have its own NABVETS website?
Yes, we do.
Would you give out that website, please?
It's all you have to do is go on your internet and look for NABVETS Washington State.
Okay,
And
so that's,
it'll lead you to the website.
yes, that's NABVETS,
Right.
NABVETS.com.
Right.
And again, you said, you know, you're you're part of a national organization. So the information that we have shared enables them to even go to wherever they might be in
Right.
the country
Well,
and say, this is what I heard through this program, and tell me what you can do for me.
Well, the thing is that say they live in another area of the country, we can actually send them to a VSO that has NABVETS in that town. Or we take them on ourselves by telephone, and now with the internet, things are a lot easier.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
so persons in Florida and they're not sure who to work with, but they heard about us, so they'll call us in Florida and say, hey, I want to work with you. We'll work with them.
That's incredible. That is absolutely marvelous.
With,
because that means there's
technology.
there's no limitation then.
It's
so
all
they're
about
able to
networking.
interact with you.
Yeah.
I think that is absolutely great. Arlene Murray, I'm just so glad we've had a chance to have you as a guest, because I think that the Gold Star, Blue Star programs are just fabulous. Again, I was very ignorant. And Phillip, Gonzales, it has just been a delight having the conversation with you as well, because I think so often we do not know enough unless something or someone has brought us into that positioning. And for those of you that are watching the program, don't hesitate. We're going to have the credit information available at the end of this show. When you're watching it, if you're watching it on your computer, you can stop it, you can find out all the contact information. But know you can share this with anyone. It is so important for us to understand communication is a key. We're not going to know how we can improve our lives, where our voices can be heard, if we don't find out about those organizations and people that we can talk with. So I'm so glad that the three of us have been able to get together, and it's just been a joy because I have learned so much myself. And I like to think that there will be those people that will watch this program and understand that the doors are open. They're
So-
not closed to
so
getting the help they need.
So NABVETS has a new motto. NABVETS, we don't play.
NABVETS, they don't play. Thank you so much for watching this program, and I would like to invite you to join me both on my radio shows, the Donna Sebo Show, which is heard daily, Monday through Friday. You can go and listen to it from 8 until 9 p.m. Pacific Time live, or you can go into the archives. I also have a program called Warriors for Peace. Now, I feature authors from all around the world. My website is delphiinternational.com. Don't hesitate to tune in and to listen in to what we have to share, because it is so important for us as individuals to know that we can make a difference. And when we are willing to learn new things, and when we have an opportunity to find out about people that can inform us about what we need to know, well, that's a good thing to do. Thank you for joining me. Next time, we'll have something else to share with you. Bye for now.
You have been listening to the Donna Sebo Show Special Editions. The audio version of this program will also be heard on the Donna Sebo Show radio broadcast. We are delighted you were able to join us and invite you to share this programming with your friends and family. Have a rich and fulfilling life.